Hey folks, how's it going? Silent Techie here and welcome back to the channel. I've got a somewhat of an interesting video for you today. I was browsing the Facebook Marketplace, which is almost a daily ritual for me, and I came across this seller wanting to get rid of various graphics cards. Now this listing was old now, so it's taken me quite a bit of time to get this up, but basically he had some old PCI cards. He had one PCIe graphics card that looked just super old. I think it was like a 8400 GS or something, or GT, I'm not sure. Anyway, it's old. And here's what I ended up getting for just $20. This is a Radeon HD 7750, and here you might be thinking it's just another review of another graphics card. However, you'd be wrong, and well, at the end of the day, right. So while I was buying a PC to do up and sell, the PC I bought came with this. This is a Radeon HD 5770. So I was going to do a video about each of the cards together, comparing the actual lack of differences between them, but yeah, something happened I didn't quite expect, and unfortunately I was shocked to find out. So first, let's run through the specs of the 7750. The HD 7750 was released on the 15th of February 2012 on the then new 28nm GCN 1.0 architecture. It features a GPU clock of 800 MHz with a memory clock of 1125 MHz, 1GB of GDDR5 VRAM, 128-bit memory bus, 512 shading units, support for DX12, OpenGL 4.6, OpenCL 1.2, PCIe 3, and a 55W TDP. Yeah, I know, it's a lot. I'm sorry. Now, compare that to the 5770, which was released on the 13th of October 2009 on the 40nm Terascale 2 architecture. Yeah, and I'm not really going to get into that. Let's just move on. The only addition really is that it features one 6-pin power connector. So from what we can see from these relatively dry stats is that apart from things like architecture, process size and age, these cards are virtually identical, with clock speeds just a little bit out, but they're virtually identical, which is interesting. But let's get benchmarking. Almost gotcha. And that's when things started to go extremely wrong. So you might have noticed how I didn't talk about the 5770 much. Well, there's a reason. During my benchmarking of the 5770, it just died. So it was working, the drivers were all installed, everything was all good, and then it just died. I tried everything I could, flashing BIOSes, putting the drivers back on, testing a new SSD for my test bench. No, I even tried the oven bake method. Yeah, I think the card was literally just on its last legs, just straight up won't boot anymore. So that's a little bit of a shame. So now will be a review of the HD 7750. Let's get back to it. So the system we are using to benchmark today is a Core i5-3550 running at 3.5 GHz, a B75 motherboard, and 8GB of DDR3 at 1080p resolution. So before we benchmark these cards, or this single one lonely card, let's clean it up first. So with Far Cry 3 being an older game, we actually had a pretty pleasurable experience, giving console-like frame rates at the Ultra preset, which I admit was too far, too high, but you know, I'm going to keep testing the Ultra because it's going to push the card to its absolute limit, of course. So yeah, so at the Ultra preset, but of course if you do want high FPS, high or even medium, it's quite playable. It actually looked nice, as well as being able to give much higher frame rates. Okay, so having an average FPS of 23.5 with 1% lows of 13 and 0.1% lows of 4.6. Yeah, so like I said, it's console-like, not perfect, but again, reasonable. I guess for the age of the card, and considering again, this card does not feature any PCIe power connectors, it just runs solely off the bus, and it's like, what, 7 years old now, so you know, it's not too bad. Yeah, actually, this game actually brings back a bit of nostalgia when I used to come home from school and play this on my Xbox 360 and play it for hours and hours, and that bloody Vaas, what a creep. Anyway, let's get back to it. Whew. The experience wasn't as bad as the FPS stats would sort of believe. I didn't really notice any stutters while actually playing. Again, it's just the stats make it look as bad. I think I saw a stutter once or twice, but other than that, it was pretty much fine. And yeah, and the HD 7750 handled this pretty well. So, Deus Ex Human Revolution. I'm going to be honest, this is probably my favourite game I've ever played. So you can imagine how glad I was that this card oh so nicely handled, with an average frame rate of 48.5, 1% lows of 29.1 and 1% lows of 16.4. The game was run at the highest setting, and I honestly found it to be an awesome experience. And I probably played through like a quarter of the game again after playing it like 3 or 4 times through already. You know, like, personally, I just find it much more of an interesting game than Mankind Divided. Like, that's a great game. I'm playing it still and I'm loving it. But yeah, I don't feel the same connection there. I think there's a lot more mystery in Human Revolution. Anyway, I'm getting way off track now. So yeah, it was an awesome experience. I should leave it at that. So this is a new game on my benchmarking suite. This is Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered. So I got this game for a few reasons. One, because it's the first Call of Duty that I actually played, and I was glad to see that there was a remaster. So that's not to be confused with this new Modern Warfare that is coming out, I think, in late 2019, 2020-ish. That's apparently like a sort of a remake, like a redo of the game, from what I've sort of heard. So no, this is just a graphical overhaul. And two, because it actually makes a pretty nice benchmark for older systems that, you know, still look nice and like nicer compared to the Call of Duty 4, while sort of being capable, like being able to be used on older hardware. So that's, I don't know. So on the lower settings, and I was actually half a gig over the VRAM limit of the card, so significant stutter was actually present here. The card actually performed quite well with an average FPS of 53.5, 1% lows of 26.3, and yeah, that's that I was telling you about, 0.1% lows of 4.3. So it was actually really playable, and the 1% and 0.1% lows, like I said, I believe can be explained just because we were half a gig over that VRAM limit, which you always see. Like if you test GTA 5 and you go quite a bit over the VRAM limit, you do get a lot of like stutter. But yeah, that stutter, I didn't really notice it that much. There was a few times here and there, but throughout this whole mission, didn't notice it once. So that's a pretty good result. So again, we have Red Faction Guerrilla Remastered. I'm not going to be making that same joke again, unfortunately. I'm a one-trick pony on. Alright. So yeah, this probably has to be my like second favourite game, I think. Maybe third, I don't know. But anyway, although a lot of people don't really seem to like this game, unfortunately, which is a little bit of a shame. I wish there was more games like it. Topic again. Almost like every other game we tested played really well on the 7750 with an average FPS of 41, 1% lows of 16.3 and 0.1% lows of 8.2. It looked great and actually played quite well. This was also at the very high preset with 2x MSAA. So yeah, so I probably did actually push it a little bit too hard, and those stutters probably are from the VRAM buffer being exceeded. Oh well. So for the final test today we have 3D Mark Firestrike. Unfortunately, only the standard version, as the extreme versions, so as the more difficult versions require a lot more VRAM. Like there's a minimum limit, and so we were only able to run the standard version, which is fun. We will be strictly looking at the graphics portions of the test, and we saw an average score of 24.33, with the first FPS test with 12.4 and the second giving us 10.8. So it didn't look too brilliant, but you know, what can you expect from a card this old with a test this new and whatnot. So now, is this card worth it in 2019? Well, yes, I guess. Like, if you want to play games from about 7 years ago, it'll be perfectly fine, but it will fall short in a lot more modern titles. But if you can pick it up for pretty cheap, like I picked it up for what, 20 bucks, then, and of course if you don't have a PCI power connector on your power supply because it's just either that old or, well, that rubbish, then yeah, it'd be a great choice. I actually used it on my first system that I had for about 4 months, and it was a fantastic experience, considering I was on a extremely tight budget. And at the end of the day, like, it's up to you if you feel that is worth it. I certainly did. It got me into PC gaming. I had only experienced console or laptop gaming, but this was quite a step up. So yeah, it was quite enjoyable. So yeah, I feel that it is completely worth it, again, if you can pick it up for cheap. Like I said, I picked it up for about 20. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like, feel free to comment below, hit the subscribe button if you want more tech videos coming your way, and I will catch you all in the next one.